Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Chaitanya Caritāmrta class. Thank you for joining in. We begin with our prayers. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavascha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaidam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, so welcome everyone. We are discussing from Chaitanya Charitāmrta Adi Lila. We are in chapter 10, the trunk, branches and the sub branches of the Chaitanya tree. So in ninth chapter, Kaviraj Goswami describes a very wonderful tree of devotional service, Bhakti Kalpa Vriksha. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the gardener of this tree. He is the Malakar and he is the trunk of this tree. And he has himself watered this tree with his desire, Sinchi Ichha Pani. And by his desire, he has, put the seeds of this tree, and he has become the trunk of the tree. And he wants to distribute the fruits of the tree all over the world. And that's why in the ninth chapter, we heard how he is requesting each and every branch and the sub branch of this tree, please help me to distribute this fruits of love of God. And then in this chapter, 10th chapter, Kaviraj Goswami describes so many branches of this tree of Lord Chaitanya. So we are discussing the, so last time we have discussed the various very powerful branches of this tree headed by Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Anupam, Jiva Goswami, and we discussed Raghunath Das Goswami also. So we'll continue from there. So we have completed till verse 108. So we'll continue from the description of, we have completed I think till verse number 104. We'll continue with the description of another branch of this tree, that is Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So that is one verse number 105. Yes, Gopal Bhatta Goswami. That is the 47th branch of this tree of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he was such a great devotee. He was always engaged in worshipping the Supreme Lord, discussing about the Supreme Lord. And he was always there in the association of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he was a very powerful personality. And Srila Prabhupada, he describes the history of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Who was Gopal Bhatta Goswami? And we all know that Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he was the son of Venkat Bhatta. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was roaming on a South India tour. So he went to Sri Rangam, and in that Sri Rangam, he met a very great devotee who was actually in Sri Sampradaya. His name was Venkat Bhatta. He was one of the chief priests there in Sri Rangam. And when he saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was so very attracted to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he invited him, you please come and stay with us in these 4 months of Chaturmas. So Srila Prabhupada writes that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was touring South India in 1511, he was touring South India, and he stayed for 4 months of Chaturmas in Srirangam at the house of Venkat Bhatt. And at this time, Venkat Bhatt, he had wonderful opportunity of serving Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu along with his entire family. So Venkat Bhatt had a small son, Gopal, and he was engaged in serving Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He would massage the feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he would do so many menial services as a small boy. And as a result, he became very much attached to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He wanted to actually dedicate his life. That time only, he wanted to come with him. But Mahaprabhu told him that please stay at home, serve your parents, and after they leave this world, then you can please come and join me. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he was initiated by his uncle, whose name was the great personality Prabodhananda Saraswati, the famous personality who has written so many verses in glorification of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kaivalyam narakayate tridashpurakash pushpayate durdantendriya kala sarva patali protkhatatam strayate. This is a verse which is written by Prabodhananda Saraswati. His samadhi, Prabodhananda Saraswati samadhi, is there in Kalia Ghat in Vrindavan. So both the mother and father of Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, they were very fortunate that they became attached to him. They dedicated their lives at the service of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when they were old enough, they actually told Gopal Bhatta Goswami, now you please go to Vrindavan. They allowed him to go to Vrindavan. And they gave up their lives thinking about Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when Gopal Bhatta, he reached Vrindavan, Rup Sanatan Goswami, they accepted him as their younger brother. And Sanatan Goswami, out of his great affection for Gopal Bhatta Goswami, actually he compiled a book, a very, very famous book, Hari Bhakti Vilas. And actually he published it under the name of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. That was the love which Sanatan Goswami had for Gopal Bhatta. And under his instruction, Gopal Bhatta established one of the very, very important deities, that is Radha Ramana. The story of Radha Ramana is very amazing. Gopal Bhatta Goswami, once he went to Gandaki river, and as he was taking bath, every time he would put his hands, his kamandalu in water to offer water to the Lord. Few shaligram shilas would jump in the kamandalu, and he would, then he would think that, oh, by mistake the shaligrams, they entered my kamandalu, so he emptied them. It happened through 2-3 times. Then he understood that, okay, it is a desire of the Lord. So he brought 12 shaligram shilas from Gandaki river, and he was worshipping them very nicely. One day in Vrindavan, a very wealthy cloth merchant came, and he had brought various beautiful jewelries and cloth for all the Goswami's deities. And Gopal Bhatta, he was thinking, oh my Lord, I also want to dress you and serve you nicely, but in Shaligram, in the form of a Shaligram, I cannot worship you. Please manifest yourself. So he prayed on the day of Narsimha Chaturdashi. He said, my Lord, you can appear out of a pillar for your devotee. Satyam vidhatum nijabhritya bhashitam vyaptim cha bhuteshu akhileshu chatmani adrishyatad bhutarupam udvahan stambhe sabhayam namrigam namanusham. He was thinking like this, my Lord, just to make the words of your devotee true, you appeared from pillar, Satyam vidhatum, in a form which was not to be seen anywhere in the world. So please appear from this shaligram also, so that I can serve you properly. He was thinking like this. And that was the day of Narsim Chaturdashi. Next day morning, he woke up and he had put all the shaligrams to rest. So he saw one of the shaligram, Janardhan shaligram. It was having a little shape under the cloth. So he uncovered that shaligram, the cloth, and he found a beautiful deity of Radha Raman. And he told this to Rup Sanatan Goswami, and all the Brajvasis, they came to have the darshan of this beautiful deity of Radha Raman. And all the Goswamis, they unanimously told that this deity has the features of all the three major deities, main deities of Vrindavan, Govinda, Gopinath, and Madan Mohan. That's how this Gopal Bhatta Goswami started worshipping this deity of Radha Raman. And this is the only deity because it is so small. When the Mughals attacked, the devotees, Brajvasis, they managed to hide the deity, and the deity never left Vrindavan. And still to this date, beautiful worship of Radha Raman is going on in Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada, when he brought all his disciples to Vrindavan, he told Yamuna Mataji that you please go and learn from the Goswamis of Radha Raman. Their standards of worship are the best. So these deities, they were worshipped by Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and Gopal Bhatta Goswami was a very, very powerful and influential personality. He was actually the king, the guru of the kings of Jaipur. And that's how he managed to build this Govind Dev Mandir. After disappearance of Rupa Goswami, actually Govind Dev Mandir, it was completed in 1590. Madan Mohan Mandir was rebuilt in 1580. It was all by the influence of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. He was a very, very powerful guru of the kings of Jaipur. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he had written a book, compiled a book called Shat Kriyasara Deepika. And that is the edited version of Hari Bhakti Vilas. And he has written a few other books. So who was Gopal Bhatta Goswami? Prabhupada quotes from Gaur Ganudesh Deepika. He is Ananga Manjari or Guna Manjari, who appeared as Gopal Bhatta Goswami to assist in the pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami, as he was saying, three very, very powerful personalities came in Vrindavan: Srinivasacharya, Shyamananda Pandit, and Narottam. Srinivasacharya took initiation from Gopal Bhatta Goswami along with one more devotee, Gopinath Pujari. So the history and the details of Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they are unlimited. So Srila Prabhupada just mentions few of the details. Then the 48th branch of the tree of Lord Chaitanya was Shankararanya. Who was Shankararanya? He is the elder brother of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, known by the name Vishwarupa. And as a small boy, Shankararanya, Vishwarup, he was very interested in hearing Bhagavatam, and he would always be there at the home of Advaitacharya, hearing Bhagavatam with all the devotees. And that's how he actually wanted to enter the renounced order of life. He was not interested in family life. And Supreme Lord arranged to send a Brahmana, and he asked Hadaya Pandit, the father of Shankararanya, he asked Jagannath Mishra that, this is Nityananda Prabhu, sorry. Yeah. So this Hadaya, this Vishwarupa, he was so very attached to reading Bhagavatam and associating with devotees that one day, without telling anyone, he actually left. Because he was so very renounced, he had no attachment for family life. So he actually left Shachimata, Jagannath Mishra without telling anyone. And he became a sannyasi. And he was known by the name Shankararanya. And Shankararanya, he left his body in 1510 at the very holy place of Pandharpur. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he wanted to go for South India tour, actually he made this request. He had an excuse. I want to go and search for my brother Vishwarup. Nobody knows where is he. Actually, as a Paramatma in the heart of everyone, he knows that Shankararanya, he had left this world, but still, he wanted to actually deliver the entire South India. So he made this excuse. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he writes in his Anubhashya that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he opened his primary school in the house of a devotee named Mukunda. And this personality, Mukunda, he, along with Kashinath and Rudra, they are the sub branches of this, Shankararanya branch. So Kashinath Mishra, he arranged the meeting of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, arranged the marriage of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he was a householder, of course. Kashinath Mishra, he induced a court pandit, and this court pandit's name was Sanatan. And this court pandit, he offered this Vishwambhar his own daughter. So in Gaur Ganadesh Deepika, this Kashinath is the famous father of Rukmini, that is Satrajit. So that is the history of the sub branches of the Shankararanya. Then he describes about Rudra, another sub branch. Then the 49th branch was Srinath Pandit. And Srinath Pandit, he was recipient of Lord's mercy, and everyone in the three worlds, they were astonished by how he worshipped the deities of Radha and Krishna. He was a great devotee of the Lord. And who was he? Actually, Srinath Pandit, he was disciple of Advaita Prabhu, and he is a spiritual master of Kavi Karnapur, the personality who wrote this Gaur Ganadesh Deepika. Srinath Pandit, he is a spiritual master of Kavi Karnapur. So that is what is described about Kavi Srinath Pandit. Then the 50th branch, another devotee named Jagannath Acharya, and he was staying in the bank of Ganga. And who was this Jagannath Acharya? Prabhupada writes, he is Durvasa Muni from Naduvan. So great personalities, they are appearing in the pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then the 51st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, there are various devotees mentioned by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Their names are Krishnadas Vaidya, Pandit Shekhar, Kavichandra, Shashtivar. Then the 55th branch is Srinath Mishra, then Shubhananda, then Sri Ram, Ishan, Srinidhi, Srikant. All these great devotees, their names are mentioned. Then the 62nd branch is another devotee called Subuddhi Mishra. Then there is a Hridayanand, Kamalanayan, Mahesh Pandit. Kaviraj Goswami doesn't give so many details about these personalities. Prabhupada quotes from Gaur Ganadesh Deepika that Subuddhi Mishra, he was a gopi named Guna Chuda Gopi in Vrindavan. And then he names further devotees, further branches. The 68th branch is Purushottama, 69th is Sri Galeen, 70th branch is Jagannath Das, 71st is Chandrasekhar Vaidya, and 72nd is Dvij Haridas. Then Ramdas, Kavichandra, Sri Gopal, Bhagavat Acharya, and Sarang Thakur. Prabhupada, he describes in detail about the two devotees, Bhagavat Acharya and Sarang Thakur. Sarang Thakur was a very amazing personality. He would stay in a place called Varahanagar, which is current suburbs of Calcutta. Very great devotee, always absorbed in chanting the names of the Lord. And he was staying in the house of a Brahmana. And this Brahmana, he was a very, very learned scholar. So when he heard from this Brahmana the narration of Bhagavatam, he was so very amazed. And this Bhagavatacharya, this Saranga Thakur, oh sorry, this is about Bhagavatacharya, so some mistake. So Bhagavatacharya, he was a very, very learned scholar of Bhagavatam, and when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was staying at his place, Bhagavatacharya, he would speak and recite the various pastimes of Bhagavatam. And this Bhagavatacharya, he was actually known by the name Raghunath. But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard from this Raghunath wonderful narration of Srimad Bhagavatam, he went into ecstasy. And he said, there is nobody who is, who can recite Bhagavatam better than you. Therefore, I give you the name Bhagavatacharya. So Raghunath, he was given the name Bhagavat Acharya by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then there is a devotee named Saranga Thakur. Saranga Thakur, he would stay in Modadrum Deep, current Modadrum Deep, and he was always absorbed in the pastimes of the Lord, and he would stay in a secluded place. He didn't want to initiate anyone. He had no disciples, but somehow, one day in the morning, he got a desire. I should initiate someone. So, he decided, okay, whoever I'll see the first, I'll initiate him. So that's how, Sarang Thakur, he started. And Sarang Thakur, he went to take bath in Ganga. And in Ganga, there was a dead body which was floating. Sarang Thakur was such a powerful personality. When this dead body touched Sarang Thakur, it came back to life. And Sarang Thakur said, okay, this is the first person I saw, so I'll initiate him. So he made that person his disciple. And he became Thakur Murari. He became a great devotee of Lord Sri Chaitanya. And his disciplic succession is still there in a village called Shara. So Prabhupada gives all these details. And in Mamgachi, there is a temple of Sarang Thakur also, which was started by Sarang Thakur. So Sarang Thakur, he was actually a gopi named Nandi Mukhi. So that is the detail about Sarang Thakur and Bhagavatacharya. Then there are another details, another branches. 78th branch is Jagannath Tirtha. We are on verse number 114. 78th branch is Jagannath Tirtha. 79th is Jankinath. 80th is Gopalacharya. And 81st was Brahman Vaninath, Dwij Vaninath. So Jagannath Tirtha, as we started the discussion of the Chaitanya tree in the 9th chapter, we discussed that there are 9 branches, 9 main branches of the tree of Lord Chaitanya, headed by Paramananda Puri. So this Jagannath Tirtha was one of the 9 branches of the tree of Lord Chaitanya. Branches of the roots of the tree of Lord Chaitanya. That is Jagannath Tirtha. And then this Dwij Vaninath is a very, very special personality. Dwij Vaninath, he was a resident of Champahati. He is brother of Gadadhar Pandit. And Srila Prabhupada describes the detail about the location of this Mamagachi, that is in the district of Bardhaman, near the railway station of Navadvip. And Prabhupada writes that this temple where Dwij Vaninath Mishra, he was staying, it was a very, very dilapidated temple. he had deities of Gaur Gadadhar. We'll discuss how the deities of Gaur Gadadhar appeared there. So when Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was doing this Navadip Mandal Parikrama, he saw this place of Champahati, and this temple was very dilapidated. So he told one of his disciples, Brahmachari, his name was Paramananda Brahmachari, and that this happened in 1921. He told this Brahmachari that you please stay here and you serve the deities of Gaur Gadadhar. So he spent his entire life serving these deities of Gaur Gadadhar, and today also very great devotee staying there. One of the other disciples, grand disciples of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, is staying there. Beautiful worship is going on. So in this temple of Dvijvaninath, the deities of Gaur Gadadhar are still worshipped very nicely. So how these Gaur Gadadhar deities appeared, beautiful stories there. One time, Gadadhar Pandit and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to meet Vaninath Mishra. And Vaninath Mishra, he understood that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is about to take sannyas and he will leave for Jagannath Puri. So he said, and he understood that his brother is also going with him, Gadadhar Pandit, because he can never separate from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He understood that Gadadhar Pandit will also go with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he was begging, please don't go. But Mahaprabhu told, no, actually, I have to go to preach this message. I cannot stay here because it is the order of the Lord to spread this message. It is a desire of the Lord to spread this message. So he said, I cannot stay here. I have to spread this fruit of love of God everywhere. He was begging and pleading, he was weeping, crying. Please, please stay. Please do not leave. How will I survive if you all leave? But Mahaprabhu, he didn't listen. And then seeing the condition of Vaninath Mishra, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, with his own hands, he carved his own deities. He carved the deities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar Pandit. And he told that you please worship these deities of Gaur Gadadhar. Whenever you offer bhoga, I'll personally come. You'll see us face to face. And very beautiful, huge, life-size deities of Gaur Gadadhar are there. Very merciful. And Mahaprabhu told that we will accept offerings in the form of this Gaur Gadadhar. So since then, the deities, they have been there. And the temple, it was dilapidated for some time, but then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he restored the temple worship and Seva Puja is going on very nicely there by Gaudiya Math devotees. So that was about Vaninath Mishra. Then another three wonderful devotees, another wonderful branch of the tree of Lord Sri Chaitanya, Vasudev Ghosh, Madhav Ghosh, and Govind Ghosh. Govind Ghosh is the 82nd, Madhav is 83rd, and Vasudev Ghosh is 84th branch. And we all know the famous songs written by Vasudev Ghosh. They all three were beautiful, wonderful Sankirtan performers. They were great Kirtaniyas. And this Vasudev Ghosh, Prabhupada writes that these three brothers, they were actually three gopis in Vrindavan, and Vishakha Devi, she would write many songs, she would compose songs, and these three gopis, Kalavati, Rasollasa, and Gunatunga, these three gopis, they would sing beautifully the compositions of Vishakha Devi. And those three gopis, they appeared as Govinda Ghosh, Madhav Ghosh, and Vasudev Ghosh. Vasudeva Ghosh bole pori jode hata. So Jai Gaura, say Krishna, say Jagannath. So this is a beautiful bhajan written by Vasudev Ghosh. So then the another branch of Chaitanya trees, Ramdas Abhiram Thakur, Abhiram Das, Ramdas Abhiram. He made once a flute. He was actually in in Sakhya Bhav as a friendly. He had a friendly rasa with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he made once a flute made up of bamboo with 16 knots in it. That is about Ramdas Abhiram. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he instructed Nityanand Prabhu to return to Bengal to preach, because every year Nityanand Prabhu was coming with all the residents of Navadvip to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they would stay practically 6 months there. So Mahaprabhu instructed, Prativarsh Nilachal Tumina Siva Gaurahi Moraicha Safala Koriba. Oh Nityanand Prabhu, please don't come to Jagannath Puri every year. You stay in Navadvip and fulfill my desire of preaching. So when Nityanand Prabhu was sent back to Navadvip, the three personalities, they went with him: Ramadas, Madhav Ghosh, and Vasudev Ghosh. Govinda Ghosh stayed with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri, and he was very satisfied. He was very happy that he was not told to go. And he witnessed so many beautiful pastimes. Then another few devotees are mentioned: Bhagavad Acharya, Chiranjeev, Raghunandan, Madhavacharya, Kamalakanta, Yadunandan. So Prabhupada describes about two devotees. Madhavacharya, he was husband of Nityanand Prabhu's daughter, Ganga Devi. And he was actually a gopi called Madhavi in Vrindavan, in Krishna Lila. Then another two very wonderful branch, 89th and 90th branch of the tree of Lord Sri Chaitanya. That is Jagai and Madhai. Mahakripa Patra Prabhu Jagai Madhai Patita Pavan Namir Akshi Dui Bhai Sakshi Dui Bhai. So these two brothers, Jagai Madhai, they were the witness to the wonderful pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya as Patita Pavan Sakshi Dui Bhai, Mahakripa Patra. And we all have heard the beautiful, wonderful story of Jagai and Madhai, although they were born in a very, very wonderful Brahmana families. But because of some bad association, they started doing all sinful activities, breaking all the four regulative principles, everything they was doing, they were doing. There is not a single sin which they had not done. And one day Nityanand Prabhu and Haridas Thakur, they were moving around preaching because they were instructed, Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Karo Krishna Shiksha. So they were instructed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please preach. So once Nityanand Prabhu saw these two brothers were drunk, intoxicated. And he said, if we give mercy of Lord Chaitanya to these two brothers, then our name of our Lord Sri Chaitanya will be spread all over the world. And they tried, telling them, please chant, but they didn't listen. On the contrary, they wanted to hit them. They ran away. Somehow they saved their lives. And next day again, Nityanand Prabhu went. And this time, Jagai hit him. And Nityanand Prabhu, he was bleeding practically. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he came to know, he wanted to actually punish Jagai and Madhai both, and he invoked his Sudarshan Chakra. But Nityanand Prabhu said, oh, my Lord, your appearance in this world is not to kill the people. You have appeared to kill the demoniac propensities which are there in the hearts of the people. So that's how Mahaprabhu, he showed mercy to Jagai and Madhai, liberated them, delivered them of all their sinful activities. And as a result of that, his own body, which was Gaur Varna, became Shyam Varna, became black. And then when all the devotees, they chanted, again he became Gaur Varna. And Mahaprabhu said, in the future, whoever, very deadly statement Mahaprabhu made. He said, in the future, whoever will offend the devotees of the Lord, all the sins of Jagai Madhai will go to them. Chaitanya Bhagavat describes in great detail what happened when Jagai Madhai were liberated. All the devatas, every day they would come to witness the pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when they came to know that this Jagai Madhai were delivered, they were amazed, they were shocked. And they thought if Jagai Madhai are liberated, then there is some hope for us also. That was the humility of the Devatas. And Yamaraj, he asked his scribe, Chitragupta, can you tell me the history of Jagai Madhai? He didn't know that at that point of time that they were liberated. So Chitragupta said, Are, oh Yamaraj, what is the use of asking? My people, they are working 24 hours, they are working overtime, but still they are not able to write whatever sinful activities these Jagai and Madhai they have done. And they become so engrossed in writing down that they keep talking about them and they forget writing. They keep talking about the sinful activities which these Jagai and Madhai had performed. But, oh my Lord, what is the use of talking about them? Now, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, these two brothers, they are delivered. And when Yamaraj, he heard this, he practically fainted on his chariot. And all the devatas, this is happening when all the devatas, they are, returning. And this Yamaraj, he is there on the chariot. He was a little back behind, so he is discussing with his scribe Chitragupta. By the time the devatas, they are returning and they saw Yamaraj's chariot is not moving. What happened? So they came near and found and saw that this Yamaraj has fainted. So all the devatas, Sabakarna milikore nama sankirtan, everybody, they came together and they started chanting the names of the Lord very loudly. And when Yamaraj, he heard this wonderful chanting, he woke up and he also started chanting. Everybody, they were chanting in the ears of Yamaraj. Sabe karna mule kori nama sankirtan. And when Yamaraj woke up, he also started dancing in ecstasy. That is the glory of the merciful nature of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Jagai Madhai, they were witness to it. Patita Pavana Namera Sakshi Dui Bhai. So Srila Prabhupada writes that who are these Jagai Madhai? They were actually Jai Vijay, the doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, who appeared as Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, and the descendants of Jagai and Madhai, they are still there. They still exist. And the tombs of these two brothers, Jagai and Madhai, they are there in a place called Ghoshahat or Madhai Tala Gram. And Mahaprabhu told them that now you are purified, please sin no more. That is a very important instruction. Now you are purified by the process of chanting. You are purified. Chanting has such power. But only next thing which we have to do is, no, please don't sin anymore. And Jagai Madhai, they were so very repentant. They started chanting. They were actually pure devotee now. But they had done so many wrong things to people that people were, very, very angry on them. But nobody dared to say anything to these people because they were very angry. Jagai Madhai, they would always be, hurting people. But now everybody came to know that Jagai Madhai, they have stopped their nefarious activities. So they started, giving bad words to Jagai Madhai, and they would sometimes hit them also, but they would never retaliate. And Madhai, he actually made a ghat, and because he was thinking, how can I serve these devotees? I have done so many wrong things. I don't know who all I have hurt, because in the state of intoxication, I don't even know who all people I have hurt. So he thought, okay, all these devotees, they would come to take bath. I should do their service, some service for them by making ghat. So he made a ghat for them. And sometimes these Navdeep Masis, they would be so angry seeing them, they would actually throw stones at them. So, but Jagai Madhai, they would, pick up those stones and give them back. Hit us more, we deserve more. And seeing such, repentance of Jagai Madhai, actually everyone, they forgave Jagai Madhai, and they were known as great devotees, Jagai Madhai. So with this Jagai Madhai description, the description of the devotees of Lord in Odisha and Bengal, it comes to an end. And Kaviraj Goswami writes that the devotees of the Lord in Bengal, they are unlimited. They are innumerable devotees of Lord. But I have mentioned just a few because they were the one who were closely associating with Lord Sri Chaitanya. And then after this, he describes the devotees of Jagannath Puri, another, wonderful description of so many great stalwart devotees. It is so very wonderful to hear about these devotees. And he begins the foremost of the devotees of Lord in Jagannath Puri was Sri Paramananda Puri, and the second was Swarup Damodar Goswami. And a few other devotees there also mentioned: Gadadhar Pandit, Jagadanand, Shankar Pandit, Vakreshwar, Damodar Pandit, Thakur Haridas, Raghunath Vaidya, and Raghunath Das. These were the constant companions of Lord Sri Chaitanya. So this Raghunath Vaidya, Prabhupada writes about him that he was such a great devotee. He had all the wonderful qualities, and he was actually Revati, the wife of Balram, who appeared as Raghunath Vaidya. So all these devotees, they were there with the Lord from the beginning of his pastimes in Navdeep. And when Lord moved to Jagannath Puri, all of them, they could not bear separation from him. So they all came to Jagannath Puri. And those devotees who resided in Bengal, every year they would come to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They would come to Jagannath Puri. So now Kaviraj Goswami is enumerating those devotees who would come to see Jagannath Puri from Bengal. And the first who came to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came to see the Lord, was the great devotee Sarabhaum Bhattacharya. And we all know the wonderful story of Sarabhaum Bhattacharya. He is one of the biggest branches of Chaitanya tree, along with his sister's husband, Gopinath Acharya. And Chaitanya Caritāmrta is full of the descriptions of Sarabhaum Bhattacharya. Actually, his original name was Vasudeva Bhattacharya. He was a very learned scholar. He was actually Brihaspati, who appeared to assist in the pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya. His name was Vasudeva Bhattacharya. And he was staying in the place called Vidyanagar. At that time, Mithila in Bihar, it was a hub of the Vedanta philosophy teachings. Very, very great personalities, powerful teachers were staying in Mithila teaching this Vedanta. And there was one personality called Pakshadhar Mishra. So Vasudeva Bhattacharya, he went and became disciple of Pakshadhar Mishra. But this personality, he would not allow his students to take notes. Just hear and grasp whatever you can. But this Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya was so talented. Just he was Shrutidhar. He actually memorized all the Vedantic conclusions, all the Nyaya, and he came back and he wrote them all down. And he started his own school in Navadvip, and he became a very, very powerful teacher of logic. And that's how he started teaching this logic to all the people. And Navadvip, that's how became the very, very powerful place of the logic, Nyaya, and all that. So when Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya, he was there in Jagannath Puri, he opened his own school of Vedanta. So for some time he was staying in Navadvip, and then he moved to Jagannath Puri. And he was running a school on Vedanta. He was such a powerful personality. He was the king. He was the king's guru, Pratap Rudra Maharaj. He was the spiritual master of Pratap Rudra Maharaj. And he was the main person, main priest of Jagannath Puri temple also. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took sannyas and he wanted to go to Vrindavan, but by the orders of Sri Sachi Mata, the request of Sachi Mata, he made his residence in Jagannath Puri. And when he was coming to Jagannath Puri with his associates, Nityanand Prabhu, Swarup Damodar, and all those other associates, at one point of time, Nityanand Prabhu, he broke his sannyas danda of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu became so angry. He said, "I am not coming with you." He went ahead and he reached Jagannath Puri temple, and as soon as he had darshan of Lord Jagannath, he fainted practically. He had all the symptoms of ecstasy. And the guards of Jagannath Puri temple, when they saw this personality, they thought maybe he's some other, sentimental person, because, in Jagannath Puri, there are many people who would, make a show of all these things. So they were about to throw Mahaprabhu out of the temple. But then, by coincidence, by the will of the Lord, Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya was there at that time. And he noticed this beautiful, very tall sannyasi with all the, beautiful limbs and effulgent. And Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya saw this sannyasi fainting. He actually had fainted. He stopped all these guards and said, "Please, you don't do anything to him. I'll take care of him." So Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya personally, he took a cotton swab and he put it near the nostrils of Mahaprabhu, and it was not moving also. So he understood that this personality is actually displaying the highest symptoms of ecstasy. So he told the guard that, "You please take him to my home." And that was the Agyat Sukriti. He protected Mahaprabhu. So then Mahaprabhu was brought to his home. And by that time, the devotees, they reached Jagannath Puri temple and they asked, "Oh, did you see a sannyasi?" So everybody said, "Yes, yes." One very effulgent sannyasi came and he fainted, and then he's taken to Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya's home. And they all reached the home of Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya and they started doing loud kirtan, and Mahaprabhu came back to consciousness. By that time, Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya, seeing the beautiful form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, such a young, effulgent sannyasi, he actually became attracted to Mahaprabhu as a Vatsalya Bhav. And he was thinking that he's such a young sannyasi. Just at the age of 24, Mahaprabhu had taken sannyas. So Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya, he was thinking, how will he continue his sannyas vows? He's just dancing like a sentimental person. How will he maintain his sannyas vows unless he is not rooted in Vedanta? So he was having such, feelings of vatsalya for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was actually elderly person. We started thinking, Nirantari Hyake Vedanta Sunaiba, Vairagya Dvaita Marge Pravesha Karaiba. So he was thinking, I will teach him Vedanta and then he will become strong in this Vairagya. Because he saw that he is such a beautiful sannyasi. Prakriti Vinita sannyasi dekhite sundar. Amar bahu priti bade ihara upar. So he became attracted, seeing the beauty and the effulgence of, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and on the top of it, the humble attitude of Mahaprabhu. Prakriti Vinit. Humility actually attracts everyone. Mahaprabhu, he had attracted many devotees, many people by his beauty and by his humility. So that's how Sarva Bhattacharya was thinking. And he told Mahaprabhu that, or I will teach you Vedanta and then you will be able to continue your sannyas vows nicely. Mahaprabhu very humbly, he said, okay, I accept 7 days. Mahaprabhu was hearing from Sarva Bhattacharya without any expression. No expression. At the end of 7 days, Sarva Bhattacharya asked, are you understanding anything? You are not showing any expressions on your face, either saying yes or no, because it is natural. When you speak and the audience, they show expressions, then you understand, okay, samajh raha hai, nahi samajh raha hai. So Mahaprabhu was not showing any expression. So when Sarvam asked him, Mahaprabhu said, actually Vedanta is like a noonday sun, and your explanations are like the clouds which are covering that sun. And that was a great shock for Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And then he said, if my explanations are like clouds, so what is your understanding on Vedanta? Then Mahaprabhu started speaking for 7 days. He spoke. And by the end of that, he was transformed. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was transformed. And then Mahaprabhu showed him his 6-handed form, Shadbhuj, Gauranga. And that's how he became great devotee. He became such a great devotee. He was completely attached to Lord Sri Chaitanya. He wrote 100 verses glorifying Lord Sri Chaitanya, Chaitanya Shatak. And one time, after Rath Yatra, Mahaprabhu took all the devotees to Indradyumna Sarovar, which is besides Gundicha temple. Now all the devotees, they were taking bath. Ramananda Rai, Sarvabhauma Sange Khele Ramananda Rai, Gambhirya Gela Tuhara Hoila Shishuprai. So just see such old sannyas, old personality, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was a very grave personality. He was playing like a child. Sarvabhaum Sange Khele Ramanand Rai, Gambhir Gela Dohar. Both Ramanand Rai and Sarvabhaum, they were behaving like children. So Mahaprabhu, he told Gopinath Acharya, Are please tell them something. Pandit Gambhir Dohe Pramanik Jan, Bala Chanchalya Kore Koraha Varjan. They are behaving like children. Please stop them. So actually, Mahaprabhu was happy seeing such ecstatic, display of emotions, but he was telling us, stop them. Gopinath Acharya, he was also very happy seeing such wonderful transformation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He said, oh my Lord, what to speak of these two people? They are like pebbles. Your mercy can drown even Meru and Mandar. Meru Mandara Dubai Yatha Tatha. What can be spoken about these two people? This Sarvabhaum, throughout his life, he has just tasted the dry cakes of logic. शुष्क तर्क खोली खाइते जन्म गेला यार तारे लीलामृत पियाओ एक कृपा तुम्हार. By your mercy, you are making him drink the nectar of Harikatha. This is your mercy. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was completely attached to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to such an extent that one day Mahaprabhu, he brought Mahaprasad in the morning, and he went to place of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, knocked on the door, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he had just got up. And when Mahaprabhu, he told Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya that I have brought some Mahaprasad for you, immediately, without even washing teeth, without even taking bath, he took that and honored that Mahaprasad. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so happy. For us, it may be a natural thing. It may be, usme kya badi baat. But we should understand who was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He was a, very, very learned scholar of scriptures. He was a very, very strict, Vedic follower. And for a Vedic follower to eat without brushing and taking bath, it is unimaginable. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he now understood that Mahaprabhu has brought this Mahaprasad, so why should I think about all these Vedic principles? And he actually quoted one verse from the scriptures. Na desha niyamastatra, na kala niyamattatha, prapti matrena bhoktavyam. So this verse tells that there is no rules and regulations. Prapti matrena bhoktavyam, natra kala vicharana. You should not think what time Mahaprasad comes. As soon as it comes, you should eat it. And Mahaprabhu, he became so happy. He said, today I have conquered Vaikuntha. Ajimui jininu, ajimui karinu, ajimui jininu, sarvatri bhuvan, ajimui karinu, Vaikuntha arohan, ajimui purna hoila, sarva abhilash, sarva bhaumila hoila, Mahaprasadera vishwas. Can you imagine the ecstasy of Mahaprabhu? He's saying, today I have conquered the three worlds. Today I have conquered Vaikuntha. Why? Because today Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he has developed faith in Mahaprasad of the Lord. That was the glory of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. When Mahaprabhu, he wanted to go for South India tour, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was actually, crying. He was pleading, please don't go. And somehow, Mahaprabhu, he had to keep him behind and left. So these are some of the glories of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So we'll stop here, and then we'll just speak about Gopinath Acharya. Gopinath Acharya, Prabhupada writes, he was from a respectable Brahmana family. He was a husband of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's sister. And actually, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was there, he entered Jagannath Puri, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya took him to his home. Gopinath Acharya, he understood it because he is devotee from Navadvip. He was already a devotee. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a Mayavadi. So he was arguing with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Do you know who is he? He is a supreme personality. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, how can you say like this? Scriptures, they say that Lord is Tri-yugi. Lord does not appear in Kali Yuga. Gopinath Acharya, he preached very strongly. He said, you will never understand because you have not received the mercy of Lord. He quotes a verse from Bhagavatam. Athapi te deva padambujadvaya prasadaleshanugrihita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya ekopi chiram vichinvan. Brahmaji is speaking this prayer, says, oh my Lord, unless somebody receives a drop of your mercy, nobody can understand you. Even if somebody endeavors for millions of lifetimes, they can never know you unless you show yourself. Gopinath Acharya says, no, it is not your fault. You have not received mercy of the Lord. How will you understand who is Lord? Actually, he was praying to the Lord that please make him devotee. And by the prayers of Gopinatha Acharya. He became Sarvam Bhattacharya. He was shown mercy. So he was Gopi named Ratnavali in Krishna Lila. And some people say that he was also incarnation of Brahma. So that is the wonderful description of the various branches of tree of Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri. Okay, so we'll stop here. Okay, there's a question. Jai Vijay were cursed to take birth thrice. After this, why they were still engaged in the sinful activities like Jagai Matai? You know, whenever Lord appears, he performs all the various, range of pastimes. And Lord wanted that I have to show to the whole world that how merciful I am. What is the extent of my mercy? If Jagai Madhai can be liberated, then there is a hope for everyone. So Mahaprabhu called them also that you please perform this pastime of becoming sinful so that I can show the whole world how much merciful I am. That is a wonderful pastime of Lord Sri Chaitanya. Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Any other questions anybody has? Okay, it seems there are no questions, or I can unmute everyone. If anybody has any questions, you can ask. Okay, the tree is mentioned in the 9th chapter. We have discussed in great detail. This is the 10th chapter going on. The tree of Lord Chaitanya, Bhakti Kalpa Vriksha, it is mentioned in the 9th chapter in great detail. The fruits and the tree and the trunk and the roots. The primary two branches are Advaitacharya and Nityananda Prabhu, and then the further branches they appear. I'm not understanding the question. Mamgachi, yeah, Mamgachi, there are deities. No. In Champahati, there are deities of Gaur Gadadhar. Mamgachi, it is a place of Vrindavan Das Thakur. It is a birthplace of Vrindavan Das Thakur, Mamgachi. And Sarang Thakur, his place is also there in Mamgachi. Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai.